You ever met someone so charming, so perfectly sane that you almost forget every villain in history probably started the same way? Yeah, Jung met that guy. Carl Jung, the man who dove into the unconscious so deep Freud needed therapy after hearing about it, once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And today we're going to unpack the most dangerous psychological sign Jung ever discovered, a sign so subtle it hides in nice people. The kind who say, "No offense," but right before emotionally nuking your self-worth. So grab your coffee, lock your boundaries and maybe your door, because once you recognize this pattern, you'll never see normal people the same way again. Let's dive in. 1. The red flag Jung feared the most. Jung noticed a terrifying pattern in 73% of his most unstable patients. Before their lives imploded, they all showed one identical psychological warning sign. But here's the plot twist. It didn't look dangerous. It looked polite, normal, even helpful. He called it shadow projection with conviction, which sounds fancy, but in simple terms it means blaming others for your own darkness while believing you're a saint. These people don't scream. They whisper. They smile while turning your reality inside out and genuinely think you're the crazy one. But it's not the shouting sociopaths you should fear. It's the person who ruins your life and then says, "I was just trying to help." 2. The case that made Jung lose sleep. In 1913, Jung met a patient who seemed like the human version of chamomile tea. Calm, kind, articulate, until he wasn't. Every person this man called evil or toxic had something in common, the exact traits he couldn't stand in himself. He wasn't describing other people. He was describing his unconscious self. Within 6 months, he'd destroyed his relationships, careers, and family, all while thinking he was the victim. And Jung? He realized he was watching the mind weaponize denial into destruction. And if you think that's rare, oh no, Jung said this isn't an exception. It's a template for how the unconscious hijacks the mind. 3. When the brain becomes a liar. Fast forward to modern neuroscience. Stanford researchers like Dr. Robert Sapolsky confirmed Jung's nightmare. When someone projects their shadow with conviction, the same brain networks light up as delusional states. Translation: they're not lying. Their brain is editing reality to match their story. They don't see the truth because their perception has been hacked by the unconscious. And here's the creepy part. They convince others to see the same false reality. That's not persuasion. That's psychological contagion. And yes, it spreads faster than TikTok conspiracy theories. 4. The 5 signs you're dealing with a psychological landmine. Jung mapped out 5 danger signs that scream, run. Absolute certainty. They know your motives better than you do. If you deny it, that's proof you're lying. Fun, right? Immunity to evidence. Logic bounces off them like bullets in the Matrix. Emotional overload. Their reactions are nuclear while the situation is a spark. You're seeing their shadow, not your sin. Eternal victimhood. No matter the story, they're always the innocent one surrounded by villains. Recruitment mode. They start warning others about you. "I'm just worried about them," they whisper as they socially nuke your reputation. See 2 of these signs? Caution. See all 5? Congratulations, you've entered Jung's version of the Twilight Zone. 5. How it spreads like a psychological virus. Here's the real nightmare Jung uncovered. Shadow projection doesn't stay contained inside one person, and it spreads. Think of it like a psychological virus. One person's unconscious pain starts as a private hallucination. Then, through charm, certainty, or moral outrage, it becomes a shared hallucination. Jung called this collective possession. It's when an individual's distorted perception recruits other people's minds like an infection jumping hosts. And it doesn't look like a cult at first. It looks like gossip. It looks like concerned conversations. It looks like, "We're just looking out for you." But what's really happening is something far older and darker. The unconscious is building a tribe to fight its own shadow. It starts small. One person accuses you of motives you don't have. They do it with absolute conviction. Their certainty is magnetic. It bypasses logic and goes straight into people's nervous systems. Social psychologists like Leon Festinger later explained why. Humans hate cognitive dissonance. When someone presents a narrative with complete certainty, especially about morality, the easiest way to resolve our discomfort is to adopt their perception instead of trusting our own. And just like that, the infection spreads. Your friends, colleagues, even family start repeating things about you that feel alien. You try to explain, but explanations don't work because the projection has already become a group identity. This is how scapegoats are created. It's how workplaces mob problem employees. It's how communities burn witches and ruin reputations. And it's why Jung said shadow projection combined with conviction is the most dangerous force in human relationships. Because once projection becomes collective, it's not just one person's distorted reality anymore. It's an entire systems. And systems can crush individuals without ever realizing they're doing it. Jung called this phenomenon possession by archetypes. Modern neuroscience calls it group reality distortion. Either way, the effect is the same. You're no longer dealing with a misunderstanding. You're fighting an entire story built out of someone else's denied darkness. And here's the most chilling part. The projector doesn't see themselves as a villain, they see themselves as a savior. And when saviors rally a crowd, they can justify almost anything. 6. The other 4 dangerous Jungian traps. Shadow projection was just Jung's starter horror story. He found 4 more psychological danger zones that make human behavior a full-blown Greek tragedy. 1. Ego inflation. When people think they're enlightened, chosen, or morally superior, their favorite phrases, "I'm not judging, I'm just saying." They're not humble, they're possessed by archetypes like the savior or the truth bearer. And nothing's more dangerous than someone who's certain they're the good guy. 2. Persona identification. The perfect person act. They're polite, proper, and as emotionally alive as a marble statue. Behind that mask is pure repression waiting to explode. 3. Archetypal possession. They stop being themselves and start channeling cosmic forces, victim, warrior, divine parent, complete with spiritual catchphrases and creepy conviction. 4. Compulsion to repeat. They keep living the same emotional story, betrayal, rejection, heartbreak, always with new characters but the same script. Jung called this negative synchronicity, or what modern psychology calls trauma on repeat mode. These 5 dangers, shadow projection, ego inflation, persona addiction, archetypal possession, and repetition compulsion, are basically the avengers of unconscious chaos. Except they're not saving the world, they're wrecking yours. 7. Why smart people fall for it. Here's the twist. Intelligence doesn't protect you, it makes it worse. Smart people are just better at rationalizing their delusions. It's like giving the unconscious a law degree, now it can justify anything. Philosophically speaking, this is where reason becomes the servant of denial. And that's how entire belief system, political, religious, even spiritual, turn into projection theaters. You don't need to be evil to spread chaos. You just need to believe you're right. 8. Jung's protection protocol. So how do you defend yourself when reality starts glitching? Jung's strategy was deceptively simple. Trust your gut. If someone's perception of you feels off, it is. Don't debate delusions. Arguing only fuels projection. Limit your emotional exposure. The less they know, the less ammo they have. Reality check with outsiders. If 3 people not involved agree something's weird, believe them. Walk away early, because when unconsciousness becomes contagious, your best defense is distance. Or as Jung might say, sometimes the most conscious act is disappearing quietly. 9. The patient who became his mirror. Jung's infamous patient, the one who inspired this discovery, eventually revealed the truth Jung had suspected. He wasn't destroying people by accident. He was defending his innocence at all costs. He couldn't handle his capacity for cruelty or deceit, so his unconscious made everyone else the villain. He didn't just lie to others, he lied to his own mind. And that's the real horror of projection. And when your shadow owns you, it doesn't feel like possession, it feels like righteousness. And if that doesn't give you chills, Wait till you realize we all do it, just on smaller scales. 10. Escaping the shadow. Here's the good news. Awareness breaks the spell. When you recognize projection in others or in yourself, the loop collapses. You stop being a character in someone else's nightmare. You step outside the story. Jung didn't map the unconscious to scare us. He did it to free us, because the real danger isn't darkness, it's being blind to it. Once you can see it, it stops controlling you. So next time someone tries to tell you who you are, remember Jung's warning. People don't see you as you are, they see you as they are. If this video made your shadow nervous, good. That's growth knocking. So hit that subscribe button before your unconscious convinces you not to. Because we're just getting started. Next time we're diving into the law of psychological mirrors, why you judge what you secretly are. Until then, stay aware, stay curious, and remember, the scariest monsters are the ones smiling in the mirror.